It's about that time of day again. Welcome back to Nightly Newsletter, boys and girls. Joseph James here. It's Thursday evening, August the 18th, 2016. Just as expected, today's session was filled with opportunities after yesterday's FOMC report, and we have some great trends going into tomorrow's OPEX Friday. All four markets, crude oil, S&P, gold, and euro are bullish, with some great opportunities on the horizon to finish up the week tomorrow. I got a great newsletter in store for you guys and gals. We've got plenty of reliable trading opportunities setting up for Friday's session. Before we jump into our charts and look at these strategies for tomorrow, I do want to remind you the only place to watch the full-length version of this video is here on our blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're watching the video right now on our YouTube channel, not to worry. There's a link in the description of the YouTube video. Follow that link. Come join me here on the blog to watch the full-length version of our nightly newsletter. And don't forget, while you're here, if you're not a member here at School of Trade, I get a free pass for you. Come out and test drive the trade room. Come out and join the trade room as a guest for a few days next week. Grab your free pass in the upper left-hand corner. Join the mailing list. I'll send you an email every evening when the nightly newsletter is ready to go live. All I need is your name and your email address. Don't forget to download the charts below the video tonight. You can download all the charts you see me using in tonight's video. Grab those charts by following that link below the video on the blog. And don't forget, you're going to learn more with me in 1 week on my trial than you will anywhere else on the web. Join the trial membership on the right-hand side of the website, and I'm always standing by to give you guys answers to all your important questions. Hit me up on the live support button on the right-hand side of the website. Hope you guys had a great week with us so far. Boy, we've had an incredible month of August, an incredible third week. I can't believe we're talking about OPEX, this third full week of the month, coming to a close tomorrow. We get a busy, busy day tomorrow. Some big moves out of today's FOMC announcement, or yesterday's FOMC announcement, just as we anticipated here for today. Let's take a look at the charts here in just a moment. Before we get there, though, let's grab a look at the schedule. Tonight, we have no major news on the calendar coming out of Asia. That means we're all focused tomorrow on Friday, August the 19th. Tomorrow is the OPEX Friday. Shouldn't affect crude or gold or euro too much, but the S&P typically will be affected by the OPEX Friday. And of course, it does have a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. The third Friday of the month, people tend to take off a little bit early, so be aware tomorrow may be a little bit lower volume. It's also one of the last few drops of the summer vacation for the kiddos. And so we assume there may be some parents out there that are going out to the theme parks or going on camping trips this weekend. So I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow is a little bit lower volume just because of the summertime OPEX. But as you guys know, I never quite know what to expect until we actually open up the charts and see what we have on the charts tomorrow. So we got the third week of the month, 1, 2, and 3. Tomorrow, of course, being the third Friday of the month. That means, of course, OPEX Friday. We have major news tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m., and that's about all we have to work with tomorrow morning. It's a minor news from the Germans from the PPI number at 2 a.m. Eastern Time, but again, only the major market movers here coming from our good friends in Canada. Don't forget, don't underestimate the news from the CAD. We know that one of the biggest exports in Canada is crude oil futures, and of course we know that the S&P 500 loves to piggyback on oil futures. We had a pretty big day today on the oil markets, so we may be in store for a range-bound scenario tomorrow, but heads up tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Don't underestimate the news from our friends in the north, right? It does tend to move the needle, especially when there's nothing else on the chart tomorrow, nothing else on the calendar for tomorrow, so be aware of that tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. No major news out of Asia tonight. Nothing in the London session tomorrow morning. We're looking at 8:30 a.m. news. And again, OPEX Friday, so be aware if it's real slow tomorrow morning, you know what's to blame for it. Now, don't forget, Friday session, early in, early out. No open positions or no getting into new positions after 11 a.m. Eastern Time for all you day traders out there on the futures markets. I never recommend getting into new positions after 11 a.m. on Friday because you know what I always say, right? At the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, what happens? Traders take bigger risks. With combination of lower volume, bigger risk taking, it's just not a very safe and reliable place to be getting new positions. You're more than welcome to hold an open position tomorrow afternoon. I would recommend, though, closing things out on the futures markets before the weekend just to be safe. Don't forget, we'll be in our chat room tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. Eastern Time with all the London-based traders, and, of course, opening up our trade room tomorrow morning for the U.S. session at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Boy, oh boy, it's been a crazy, crazy week here. It's been an incredible month of August. Tomorrow, of course, being a summertime Friday, so we'll see how the volume looks tomorrow. Crude oil is bullish and trading at the triple up at the highs of today's range, right at the highs of the range today. The bulls have clear control of this market right now, which means we can assume that any pullback to support will have buyers interested, and any strong breakout higher will give the buyers a chance to buy the next pullback as we make our way up to that $50 a barrel. We've been talking about this for the last few weeks. It feels like there's a big magnet drawing this price up to that $50 a barrel. I also should mention too, this is the 10/16 contract. I forgot to mention this last night, but we did have a rollover on the schedule for today. This is always very easy. Around the 18th of the month, that's for crude oil, of course, right? Gold's every other month. You got Euro and S&P, all the other E-minis are quarterly. But every 1 month, though, on the 18th of the month, you want to be looking for that rollover on crude oil. It's really simple. 17th, 18th, 19th. I start looking at it around the 17th. Usually the 18th, though, is when you're going to get rollover. Sometimes it's a few days early, but I've never seen it go late. So, again, as we start getting towards the 18th, I start looking at the volume rollover. And, of course, this morning we came in and saw volume slowly moving higher on the 10/16 contract. So heads up on that. We are trading these 10/16 contracts until the 18th of next month, right? 18th of September. Boy, that'll be a quad witching week, by the way. Third week of the month of September. Back to the plan, though, here. Whenever we see a market that moves this much in one day, we said bullish going today. We knew the bulls had control. Obviously, we didn't know that it would be this strong of a bull market. We came out of the FOMC meeting minutes yesterday afternoon, and my exact words were last night, be aware, they're going to be a big reaction to the FOMC meeting minutes, and boy, did we get that reaction today. Today was a fire sale. Buy everything, right? If it pulls back, buy it. Every time this market pulled back, you can see it barely touched the moving average here twice today. That's it, right? You can see how lofty this market was. When I see a market like this, the first thing I think of is everybody's already long. And so the only real way to get more people interested in buying is either we got to get something that comes out new that sparks this move higher, right? So with a real strong break higher, because you got to convince all the buyers that bought down around that 48, right? That's when about we knew this market was in runaway mode today, just after 9 o'clock. You've got to convince the buyers who already made their money off 40, 47.90, 47, 48 even. You got to convince them to get back in again. So the only two ways that you can just, again, putting yourself in the mindset of other traders, the only way I'm going to be convinced is if price goes lower to entice me into a move, right? To entice me to buy more, or you better show me some real strong push higher here, right? It needs to show some real big strength. Now, this reminds me of last Friday, doesn't it? It reminds me exactly of last Thursday night's newsletter. If you go back and watch last night's newsletter or last Thursday night's newsletter, it's going to sound a lot like the same. So right now we have to assume, again, buyers clearly have control right now, right? Buyers clearly have control right now, which means we can assume that any pullback to support will have the buyers interested. Okay, and we really need to see a real strong breakout if we're going to have confidence to push this thing higher. The most desirable trade for the bulls will be a two-legged correction back to at least the reversal line at 48.45, or they need a strong breakout higher so they can buy the pullback to the moving average above that 48.93. Sellers have zero proof right now, so they need to stay patient for a strong push lower and then hold a pullback with a target back in that battle zone for the sellers at 48.17. Okay, one thing is for sure. Sellers who tried calling a top today learned a very valuable, expensive lesson, and we don't want to try repeating that tomorrow. So we need to wait for proof before we start to sell. This is the type of market that will bury you if you keep trying to call a top. Yes, this market can keep going higher. Yes, I realize it's probably considered overbought by most people's standards, but no, there is no reason why it can't keep going higher. So please remember that. Now, as we talk about this, as this price goes higher, the moving average really is my line in the sand here. So I want to see if we do get this strong break higher, break out, pull back, and we got to get a real strong breakout pullback. This is what I'm talking about. Show me you mean it, right? I don't want to see this little tiny wimpy little breakout pullback here because, again, we want to see it really. I want to see this breakout till all the sellers don't even think about touching this thing. And I want to give those buyers enough confidence to buy that next pullback. We saw a great example of this last Friday morning where it kind of tried a couple times, and then you got that bam, right? That big breakout, and that's the one that was successful. Again, look back at last Friday's chart. It will be on the 916 contract, of course, last Friday. So whenever we see a market like this, we assume buyers are not going to want to buy that high, right, unless they get something remarkable. And so it tends to go in a trading range, right? A big day like this tends to get, again, the only way to entice more people into this market who have already got long earlier today are going to be to either bring prices down, right, or give us something with an explosive breakout to the upside. So really right now, I got my eyes on this 48.45 area. The bottom line is you want to buy, right? You want to buy low. So two-legged correction back down to that low, seller failure, and then buy it back up. It's a little bit difficult for me right now to tell you exactly where that range is going to be for tomorrow. But again, if I had to guess right now, I would say from, the high up here down to that low at 48.45. Maybe it ends up being like this tomorrow. It's difficult for me to really anticipate where that range will be. We get a beautiful reversal line, which was barely tested there. So that would be the logical spot there for most buyers to have their arm, right, to have their arm twisted enough to be able to get them back into this market. So either a break down or a strong break up. As this market goes higher, we want to see a strong move, right? Very strong move. As this market goes lower, we're looking for that. This is where the sellers have a small window here and then break out, pull back, and then go from there. So sellers have a real small window here. If they can break down and hold that pullback, I do not think that is the more reliable side to be trading right now. Obviously, just look left, and trying to sell right now has to be considered the lower reliability option, although we may get a small window there on the way down to that area of support, and then watch out for buyers to be coming in this 48-45 area. And then, of course, there'll really be two options here for the buyers. The first one, of course, will be the most aggressive. It'll be seller failure. And then, of course, the second opportunity, the much more reliable, will be that break, failure into strength into pullback, and then pullback right back up. If it does go further, you can look for more of this tomorrow, right? Hold the pullback into the battle zone, and then break out and go. Of course, buyers here will have a chance here for the failure. That will be the more aggressive trade because at that point it'll be a bear market. At least in short term it will be a bear market. Right, so think of it this way. Strong push down. Sellers really need to see something with substance. They're going to want to get a good separation below that moving average. Again, telling the buyers, don't even think about buying this trap. And then, of course, the objective then would be to get down, at the very least, down to that trading range low, right, or the 48.45, right, which I'm assuming may be the trading range low tomorrow. And then from there, can they continue, right, for another opportunity into the battle zone at 48.17? And then from there, it really all depends, So again, sellers have a few different opportunities here. Just make sure you're not make sure you're not selling into that 48.45. Right, make sure you get below that 48.45 because, I would assume there are going to be some swing buyers there entering into that market. And then once we get down to the battle zone, this is where the buyers will be looking for seller failure, trying to buy that pullback, right, and then send this thing right back up to retest those highs tomorrow. If the sellers can break and hold below this 48.04, they got a nice wide open space down there to that 47.55, and of course the low of day at 47.28. Right, so again, a couple things on this. If it does go higher, we want to see a real strong breakout pullback here higher. Be very suspicious of the breakout pullback. If it goes lower, we expect buyers to be scaling in. If the sellers can get something going, they need to see some significant strength to the downside here to convince more sellers to join them. And again, the seller target here will be down in that battle zone. But we do assume, though, that buyers here, here, and if they can get below and hold, right, they'll be gunning for that low. But